welcome back to Gifted Guitars. This is the guitar we're working on today. It is the Bob Ross guitar. You can see we've got a little Bob carved into the headstock, and I followed a Bob Ross tutorial to paint the guitar. If you missed either of those episodes, there will be a link to a playlist that'll pop up on your screen right now, and you can click on that and watch it from the beginning all the way to today's episode. Today we are maybe gonna finish this. I think we might actually, we're just gonna go for it, see how far we get. We're definitely gonna work on the electronics, we're gonna work on the neck of the guitar, and we're gonna see how it sounds, if we can get it all done in time. So I'm excited about this. I've never built this style guitar before. I play a Stratocaster quite a bit. That's my kind of my number one guitar right there. So I'm excited to see how this all comes together. If you've been following along with this guitar as well as this last guitar that I built, you know that I am building them to create awareness for certain organizations to help out those who have been affected by COVID-19. Through the course of building this guitar, some more pressing issues have come up, so I'm shifting gears on what I'm speaking out about, and I will be talking about that at the end of today's build, some ways that you can get involved, some things that, that I think are really important. For me, building things and art is a way of me working through certain issues, and so I like to incorporate that into what's going on in the world and ways that I can actively be helpful. So I will be speaking more about that at the end of the build. So I've already checked the neck of this guitar, and it is straight. It's not bowed in either direction. And I'm gonna start going through each of the frets and making sure none of them are higher than the other ones. If you have a high fret, it makes your guitar sound all wonky. It makes a buzzing sound. It's not good. This part of the guitar build is very tedious. It is a lot of work, but I feel like it's the difference between a really cheap feeling guitar and a really nice feeling guitar is whatever happens with the frets on this. There are a lot of elements that can change how a guitar feels, but the frets are definitely a super important part. We'll speed this up so you don't have to sit through the tediousness of it. This rosewood was so dry. It feels really nice now that it's got that oil on it. I actually put a lot more oil on it than it looks like it needed, and then I wiped it down after a couple minutes so that the rosewood could really soak it in, because it really needed it. Now you can see the shine on the frets. It feels really good. This is coming together. I really like the neck of this guitar. I think we are at the point now where I can start putting hardware into this and figuring out what the electronics are gonna look like on this. One of the cool things about the Stratocaster is that it's already pretty much pre-wired. Everything, the volume, the tone, the pickups, and the switch, they're already pre-wired. All I have to do is connect this to the jack and set a ground, I think. So I haven't seen this on it since it got painted. So let's take a look at that. Pretty cool. A few people suggested I do a clear one. The problem is that all these cavities weren't painted, so you'd just be looking into like weird wires and channels in the guitar, whereas with this on it, looks a little more complete. I think that looks cool. I think the primary design, the painting stuff, is on the back. So, and that's not gonna get covered up very much. So this, you just kind of get some trees poking up in the background, you get the river going this way, and then you flip over the guitar and you get the rest of the look. So what do we have here? We've got 3 wires leading off of the volume. 2 are soldered to the top. These are both gonna be grounds. So one gets grounded to the strings of the guitar, the other gets grounded to the jack, which will sit right here. And then this will be my live wire coming from the jack. And we should be ready to rock and roll with just 3 solder joints. So I don't think it matters which of the black wires goes where. So I'm gonna put this one in here. That was actually a little bit easier than I thought it was gonna be. It was just 2 solder joints. I put a screw in here and 2 screws in here just to keep it in place because I've gotta flip over the guitar now and figure out the tremolo system. Tremolo systems, I've dealt with one before and it was a doozy. It was a Floyd Rose. And they're notorious for being very finicky and difficult to work with. This is a fairly standard tremolo system. It's a Stratocaster tremolo system. I've never actually played with one of these before, like taken them apart. I have one on this guitar here, but I've never really played with it. So I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but it's gonna be a fun experience. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna put this in here. Whoever gets this guitar in the end, I would recommend replacing this piece. This feels like not a very heavy piece of metal. And the heavier it is, the more sustain you're gonna get, the better quality it is. This one came with the kit and it feels pretty lightweight. It's not a big chunk of metal. So just something to consider. This funny looking thing is actually the claw that holds the springs into place. So the springs are gonna go from here to here, holding this in tension. And I'm gonna use these big long screws to put it into the body of the guitar. Now these are screws that I'm also not going to screw all the way in because they're adjustable. So the further into the guitar they go, the tighter these springs are going to be. And through trial and error, I'm going to have to figure out exactly what the right distance is and the right tension is between the strings and this part of the guitar here. This little nub right here is where the ground goes. So I'm going to need to solder that onto there. This kit comes with 3 springs, and on one side is sort of this hook, and the other side is this eyelet. The eyelet gets looped around any of these little pegs here, and then this gets stretched over and can go into any of these 5 small holes on this side. Different people like to set this up in different ways and put it in different configurations. The way I'm going to do it today is I'm going to use the 3 prongs, the middle prongs of that rake, and then go into the middle hole and the 2 outside holes. So it's gonna kind of look like this kind of shape. Now I'm just gonna put the arm in here for now to make sure that everything's working properly. What should happen now is if I put pressure on this, this will tip up. And it looks like it's doing that. Okay, that's good for now. Okay, at this point I need to plug it in and make sure all the electronics are working because that was the final grounding that I had to do right here. It's gonna be a little buzzy because I don't have strings on it yet, but I just wanna make sure that these are making the right noise. So let's check it out. We're all plugged in, let's turn it on. Little buzzing, that's okay. Less buzzing, that makes sense. Should be a little buzzing when I go to the middle position. Less buzzing here, more buzzing there, that's good. I'm just gonna touch the pickups. This should be this pickup. Perfect, sounds good. Middle pickup, good. Good, oh, yes. Okay, I want to explain how I was able to know when there was gonna be a buzzing sound and when there wasn't. Basically, these 3 pickups here, here, and here, are called single coil pickups. And they pick up a lot of the ambient microwaves that are around. Any sort of electronic sets those things off and it kind of picks up those sounds. It gets cleaned up if it goes through 2 coils. So there are different kinds of pickups like, let's see, this guy here. This is called a humbucker pickup and it's basically 2 of these single coil pickups put together, and for some reason the way that works, it cancels out that humming sound. So I knew when I was in the first position, when it was just this pickup, that it was going to have a buzz or a hum sound. If I go to the middle position, it's actually doing 2 coils, just like the humbucker pickup. So it's canceling out that hum. When I went to the middle position, again, it's just 1 coil. Next position is 2 coils, so it should have cleaned up some of that humming. And then the last one is also a single coil. So I was able to predict just then when I would hear a hum based on what position the switch was in. It means that everything is working just as it should, which I'm very excited about. If I had more time, I would experiment with shielding on this guitar. I haven't done that on any of the guitars so far. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time on this one. Maybe I'll go back in and add shielding later, but I think on the next Stratocaster and or Telecaster that I build, I will be experimenting with shielding, so look forward to that in a future video, and that reduces that humming sound quite a bit. So anyway, this is all wired up correctly, which means I can screw this stuff in and put the pegs on here and string it up and start playing it. All the strings are now on the guitar, but I'm noticing a major issue, which is that these strings near the bottom here are just touching the metal. It's kind of hard to capture it on camera, but the strings are actually touching the fret here, the neck of the guitar, which they shouldn't be. They should be above it so that they can vibrate freely. This one's kind of all right, but if you pluck like this string, you hear the ringing sound. So they all need to be kind of raised up a little bit. The way you do that is over here. This part right here is called the bridge of the guitar, and each one of these has 2 little screws. And by loosening or tightening those screws, you can actually raise up or lower down the string of the guitar. So we're gonna tighten a few of these and see if we can get these to be at the right height so that we don't get that ringing sound anymore. Couple of finishing touches here. I've got to put the tremolo arm on. I also have to put these strap buttons on. And basically the way these work is they're these sort of fluted shaped nuts almost, or washers. And then the screw goes in like that. And then there's a little, in this case, plastic washer that protects the finish of the guitar. It's kind of a rubbery plastic. And this gets put into 2 spots on the guitar so you can put a strap onto the guitar. Sometimes these are made of felt or leather, but in this one it's sort of like a rubberized plastic. So, or a plasticky rubber. I'm not sure what the material is exactly. And the last thing to go on is going to be this back plate. It goes onto the very back of the guitar here. But I want to have access to this right now because I'm going to plug it in and test it out and see how it feels and how it sounds. And I might make adjustments to this as I go through that. So I'm going to leave this off. Some guitar players actually throw this piece away. Like it comes from the manufacturer like this, and they'll just throw this away so that they can always have access to this back area. I'm going to put it on, but only after I played around with it a little bit. All right, we've got a guitar. I think we should just plug it in. We should see how it sounds. I'm not the best player in the whole world, but man, this is fun to play. Okay, that was first position. This is the sort of in-between position. You can hear there was like a hum and it went away. I'll play that again. Can you kind of hear it? Hear it go away? And it sounds a little different. Okay, middle position. These two here. And this is the bridge position here. You can hear how much of a difference a Stratocaster has, like such a wide range of tone. Hear the difference? So cool. This one's for you, Bob. I don't actually know how it goes. This guitar has so much bite to it. Okay, let's talk about this guitar. I love the design on it. I think that it looks really cool. I was worried I was gonna have to adjust these springs a lot. I don't think so. It's actually slightly floating, which means that not only can I make the tone go dip down a little bit like this, but I can also make it go up by pulling up on the whammy bar. I could fine tune that a little bit so that it's floating a little bit more, but then you're dealing with tuning instability, all sorts of stuff. I actually really like where it's at. It gives me just enough room, wiggle room, if you will, to change the tone of the guitar. Such a fun guitar. Compared to my Fender Stratocaster, which is a Mexican-made Fender Stratocaster, this guitar has a very different feeling neck. This one's a little chunkier, a little more like 1960s feeling. Mine's a little more modern, so it's like a thinner. I might prefer this a little bit. This is super fun to play. It sounds great, has good bite to it, has quite a bit of range. There are a few little things that with all my guitar projects, I find little things that I'm like, oh, I wish I had done that a little better. I could have spent a little more time on the neck of the guitar. There's like a rough patch here. I don't know if it got knocked in shipping or something, and I didn't notice it until I was playing it, but there's like a little rough patch here. That's kind of a little bit of a shame. The paint on the actual guitar it's thicker than I usually do, so it has a bit of a texture to it. It's not gonna be a super smooth, glossy finish on this guitar the way like my other Stratocaster is, but I think that's part of the charm of this one, that there's this Bob Ross painting on it. So I'm totally fine with that. If this was my guitar and I was gonna invest some money into upgrading it a little bit. The pickups are obviously like inexpensive pickups, but I kind of like them. I kind of like the bite that they have and the grit. It's a gritty guitar, which I don't know, some people might not like, but I kind of like it about this guitar. The two things that I would switch though, this bridge, I would upgrade this. If this was my guitar and I was gonna put some money into it, some more money into it, this and the tuners. I would get some nice locking tuners that run a little smoother. Other than that, this guitar feels really awesome. It's really fun to play. All right, let's put the backplate on this and take one final look at all the details on this guitar. I hope you had as much fun watching this build as I did doing the actual build. This was a really fun guitar to work on. When I first started this guitar, it was to raise awareness and funds for COVID-19 relief. And while that is still important and you can still donate using the links in the previous videos, this video is dedicated to the Black Lives Matter movement. I've included some links in the description of this video of some organizations that I've donated to, and I really want to encourage you to check them out, get informed, get involved, sign petitions, and really listen to those that are affected by it. I love you guys. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next time.